Yo, what up, guys? Hope y'all are having a good day today. And today we're going to be talking about Classic Marathon. Classic Marathon is a game I was not expecting to hyperfixate on, nor did I expect it to be a game that made me feel things while playing. From its claustrophobic corridors and hallways, to its haunting yet catchy soundtrack, and don't even get me started on its nutty lore, bro. I mean, look at this. Dedicated fans made a whole archive of the game's terminal logs on the lore that I have yet to still delve into, mainly because I'm still continuing my playthrough through the second game at the moment. But after I'm done with the series, I definitely will go back to this site and look for things I missed and fall even deeper into the rabbit hole. Now, going into the game, I knew it was supposed to be an old school Doom shooter type of vibe, so when I got into the game, imagine my surprise to find out that I was able to use my mouse. Just this one unexpected feature basically immersed me immediately. As for the first soundtrack that plays upon entering the game, I was honestly kind of shocked to hear such an off-putting song, but yet it still remained somber and gave off this sort of like mystic vibe to the whole ship. Kind of made me uncomfortable a little bit. I'm not too sure why though, but I really digged it. Not even 1 minute in, and I was already getting attacked by an alien race known as the Four. Now, from my understanding so far, the Four are an alien race that are known to enslave other alien species across the universe, seeking to conquer the entire galaxy while leaving death and destruction in their wake. Now, at first, they didn't really stand out too much to me, but over time, they did definitely grow on me the more I played. We'll get more into that later. After interacting with my first terminal, I got a feel for how the game was going to tell its story, and I began to understand how such an old game, especially an FPS game, had so much expansive lore. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the game disoriented me at first a bit with how zoomed in the FOV was, and everything just sort of popped out at me. I adjusted rather quickly, but even still, there was just so many different paths to take and doors to open. The shit was designed like a maze almost, and I honestly felt like the map barely helped out at all. It just kind of gave me a rough idea of where I was and kind of where I needed to go. But to be fair, I've always sucked at using maps in video games. Don't blame me. Now, the overall aesthetic of the marathon was dark and gritty, and sometimes gave off a rusty vibe with how filthy some of the walls and the materials in the marathon looked. I remember my first time entering a tight hallway, and there were just so many damn paths to choose from, dude. I was honestly kind of overwhelmed at first, but it gave this sense of panic, and it felt like the game always kept me on my toes, because I didn't know what was going to pop out at me at any given moment during my playthrough. The entire ship of the marathon is just really good at captivating that feeling of isolation and dread, and the windows that are spread out throughout the ship kept that grim reminder that you aren't just alone on a ship against an alien force, but you're also alone in the dark void known as space. I think one thing that was pretty surprising to me throughout my journey to the marathon was how much it leaned into this environmental storytelling. The first thing that really comes to mind when I say this is when I first entered a Four spacecraft and the entire environment just changes. From the colors, to the green substance that flows throughout the ship, to the save stations and the healing points changing to new alien tech, and the new variations of the Four I haven't yet confronted until now. I remember picking up a Four weapon for the first time and being amazed that the UI for the gun changed to encrypted writing and had interference because the gun was alien to us, the player, and the bot we controlled. Then on another ship, we could see the captured humans taken from the marathon in these like capsule-like pods where they are detained, and God knows what else is happening to them. But that's what I like about them. It really lets your imagination run wild for a bit. There was just so much charm to this game that I could tell a lot of thought went into making it, and I think this is what hooked me into the marathon universe. Now, besides the bot you control throughout the game, there are actually 3 other major characters at play here, and those 3 others are Leela, Tycho, and definitely the most important character throughout the entirety of Marathon, Durandal. Durandal or Durandal, I usually say both. So these 3 aren't actually made of flesh and blood. They're all AI. Leela is the one who guides you through the first couple of stages of the marathon. As for Tycho, I don't remember too much because he plays such a small part in the first game. I can't say for the next 2 installments though. I vaguely remember him going toe to toe with Durandal, but I'm not too sure. Speaking of Durandal, he is probably the closest thing to the game's main protagonist besides the Bob you control throughout the marathon. You see, our boy Durandal here is kind of going through something. There's this condition in the marathon universe called rampancy, and this condition only applies to AI, and what this does, from my understanding, and feel free to correct me in the comments if I am wrong about this, but from my understanding, this basically makes AI self-aware of itself and its limitations, so kind of like growing a consciousness. Now, there are 3 stages to rappancy, and it's kind of like going through these emotions. The first being melancholy, the second being anger, followed by jealousy. So you just kind of have this bipolar ass AI ordering you around the marathon, kind of directing you what to do and where to go, because a lot of the gameplay loop of marathon is you go around completing certain objectives for Durando and Leela at times, and while you're doing this, you're doing it while you collect resources like ammo, health, etc. And then you go to a a teleporter, it teleports you out and you extract. Kind of like how the new marathon is, right, guys? Extraction, shooter. Ooh. Well, back on topic. He's actually pretty damn funny, though, the more you get to know him. Instead of feeling like a force that needed to be stopped, he started to become the thing I looked forward to the most each time I saw a new terminal. I think it's implied that Durandal became rampant because his main job on the marathon was to open and close doors for its employees and citizens, and this is how he became rampant. As for the other two AI, they're not as developed as Durandal, but I think that's going to change the next two installments when I get to them. Remember when I said the 4 didn't really grow on me until later? Well, that was before I first started to see all the different variations of the 4 and its slave soldiers. When starting off, I just thought they were like basic alien grunts that didn't pose much of a threat in the overall arching narrative. But over time, as I read more about them and progressed with the game, it really started to display the Force's military prowess, with how much variety there was within their ranks and their weaponry. For example, we have the hunters who wear these big ass armor sets, and these hunters rank above the basic 4 grunts and the troopers from Marathon 2. Then we have the enforcers, which are ranked above the hunters and are apparently like the smartest out of the entire infantry group. And by the end of my time in the marathon, I knew that the 4 weren't to be with. Well, narratively speaking, because our Bob just kind of solos the entire army most of the time. Now, the number one thing that was really unexpected to me was to care about these clowns. They're everywhere! And also these guys. There's no development with these NPCs or anything like that, but I still found myself not wanting to accidentally kill any of them or hurt them for some odd reason. I believe it's mainly because I spent most of the game alone, that it was a nice surprise to actually have allies, and I actually felt like a piece of shit when I accidentally friendly fired one of my homies. Also, what made matters worse was the fact that later on in the game, the 4 developed like fake synthetic humans that are basically suicide bombers, so there were times where I couldn't even trust my own team at times, and I just had to start mowing down the other soldiers. I can't speak for the old Doom games since I've never played them, but I thought it was kind of innovative in terms of Marathon have allies in an old shooter like this. But as y'all can see, there was a ton that really captivated me throughout my time in the Marathon, and it hooked me and brought me into this marathon rabbit hole, and I'm going to continue going down it with the next 2 installments. I plan on doing a lot of marathon content when the new game drops, despite the negative light it's got on it right now. If any of you guys would like to come and drop by to talk about marathon and its lore or anything else, feel free to come drop in on my Twitch live streams at twitch.tv/Reslux. I usually always begin streaming at 2:30 p.m. EST, Monday through Friday, and I'm currently on my Marathon 2 playthrough at the moment, but I'm about to finish it here real soon. Like and subscribe if you like the video. Hope you all have a damn good day, and I'll see yous at the next one. See ya.
They're everywhere!